eighth episode in our webinar series. Our group admin, Mr. Rajat Shom of Honeybee, have requested Mr. Gautam Gupta, who currently heads business development for Work Better Training and Development. And despite his busy schedule, Mr. Gupta has agreed to share some of his experiences with us. In fact, when you convince a man of the stature like Mr. Gupta, we can see a good example of Rajat's influencing skills. Well, that brings us to today's topic, that is influencing skills. Most of us know that Mr. Gautam Gupta had a checkered career in the corporate, now spanning over almost 32 years. He had worked as the regional director with Doors, then as a deputy VP, corporate training with Dish TV. He had set up learning solutions for corporate training and development and employability training to MBA and engineering graduates. He moved on to Centum Learning as the service delivery head built out of Mumbai, looking after the auto and retail verticals. Mr. Gupta is also a master trainer and is empaneled as a senior consultant with many organizations of his team. Before I hand the mic over to Mr. Gupta for today's session, I welcome you all and would also like to remind you to please be on mute and use the chat box to raise any issues, or if you have any questions, you can please put it on the chat box. Well, we will also have a question and answer session towards the end, maybe for the last 10 minutes, where you can also unmute and directly ask Mr. Gupta any question that you have. But while the session is on, I would request you to please be on mute and use the chat box. Over to you, Mr. Gautam Gupta.
Okay, thank you, Soumya. Thank you so much. And good evening to everybody. How are you all doing? It's a great pleasure, and I thank this forum and thank Rajat and Sandeep and of course Soumya for bringing us all together. I hope all of you are safe and healthy, and all of you are taking care of yourself. I know these are very difficult times for all of us, and all of you who are independent trainers, and it's a really a time where we all have to really relook at how things will happen. This is the new normal. I have attended a few sessions on how things have changed and how there are going to be a new normal in the training. I'm talking about a particular skill which is primarily called the influencing skills, right? And as already said by Soumya and set the ground rules, of course, I will take questions whenever they are in the middle, and I will take the help of Soumya and Rajat to let me know the questions. And of course, there will be a time at the end also where I will spend about 5 to 10 minutes in trying to take your questions. Yeah. So I'm glad to see about more than 40 plus people already. So yeah, let me just quickly share my screen and then we shall start. So we're going to talk about this very interesting topic called how can I use influence to win? And I'm going to it's a 2-day workshop actually, but today I'm going to just try to give a very quick primer on this whole aspect of influencing and how it can help us to win. And it can be useful not only in our professional life, but maybe it can also help us in our personal life also, right? So influence to win, it's going to be introduction to the 6 principles of influencing. This has been taken from a path-breaking research done by Mr. Robert Cialdini or Dr. Robert Cialdini, who is a marketing professor and a psychology professor at the University of Arizona in the US. He did a path-breaking research, he and his team, for about 20 plus years, and then he also wrote a book on this particular topic. So I will not go too much about him and too much about the research. I will straight away dive into what we call as the 6 principles of influencing. Now, before I start, I just want to clarify here that, before I start, I just want to clarify here that these principles are based on human psychology and human behavior, and they are universally applicable across the world. There could be a slight cultural influence on them, but that's about it. Overall, how humans behave and how human psychology is quite consistent the world over, whether you are from Asia, whether you are from Europe or from Americas or from any other part of the world. So that's why these principles are so simple and so easy to understand and have a far impact on them. And I'm sure when I talk about these, you will all say, "Oh, this is what I'm already using. Oh, this is something which is already there." Yes, it is all there. I will just try to bring a kind of a structure to these techniques. So I will try to have a structure to these techniques, and for the back of the mind, I'll try to bring it to the forefront, right? And I'm sure all of you will probably recognize these techniques which you have been using, and some of them which probably you can use going forward. Yeah. Yes, I can see some messages from many of my colleagues from the training industry. Yes, welcome to you all. And yes, I would like to probably spend some time in talking to you once this session is over, right? Great. So let me deep dive into what we call as influencing, right? Okay. So for all of you who don't know me, let me do a quick introduction. I am Gautam Gupta. I am the head of sales at Work Better Training, and I have overall about 32 years of work experience. Last 16 years in the training industry as a professional corporate trainer and a master trainer. Before that, I worked as sales and marketing person. Currently, I am the, as I said, head of sales and business for Work Better, and also a master trainer. Work Better, I'm sure many of you know, and Rajat knows us very, very well. We have worked with Rajat for the past many years. We are a training and development organization based out of Mumbai. Yeah. So that's a quick introduction to us, and I can recognize few of you who I have worked with earlier. Now, let's talk about influencing. Okay. Now, this is what I'm going to talk about, influencing and the 6 principles. Now, just to quickly give you a thing, I'm just going to put some scenarios in front of you, and I want all of you to use the chat box to give me a reply, what you think is the possible answer to these situations. So this is the typical Arjun. Arjun could be you, me, anybody in this room, right? And ladies, this could be any one of you also. So there's no reason behind having a gentleman as an example. It could be Arjun or it could be Anjana, it doesn't matter, right? It's about a person and his or her life. So here is the different 3 situations which Arjun, and I want you to answer this after going through these 3 situations. Should not take you more than a minute to read this. Yeah. So the question is, what is the common theme in all these 3 situations? If you can probably give me an answer in the chat box, that will help. Okay. Okay. Ashok says influence. Okay. Well, can I have a little more detail? If someone can probably seeking time and attention, decision making. Okay. Can I have some more answers? Rahul, yes. IG says choice. Okay. Being influenced. Okay. Pradeep is saying. Girish says appeal. Priorities. Meena is saying are important as his level. Okay. Being influenced by heart. Okay. Farida has said that. Wonderful. Importance. Stress. I wonder why stress. Supriyo. Indrajit says attention, choice. Okay. Chetan also says choice. IG says personal or professional priority or choice. Okay, right. Setting up right kind of priorities set by Daman. Okay. Demand by others, marketing. Okay, someone who's called marketing. Lots of choices he has to prioritize. So many things, expects. Okay, fair enough. I think I've got some good answers, but the answer which probably is the right answer in this case, of course, it is about exercising his choice. But he exercises choice unconsciously or consciously by the influencing factors in his life. Okay? The influencing factors. If you read the first case, it was an influencing of an offer available, right? It was an offer available, and that is why he probably went ahead and booked that phone because about the offer being available for a limited time, okay, which was 50% offer for today. So that offer is so that limited time was the influencer to take a decision. In his office, his reporting manager convinced him to apply because of the seniority. He respects his boss and his experience, and the reason why his boss is asking him to go for this course and that is why possibly he will enroll for this course, because he has a respect for his senior, and a senior comes for experience and knowledge. So he is respecting seniority, what we call as authority. The third case was that, of course, he loves his children, and when the request made by the children, of course, he would like to exercise it. But another factor which convinced him to go and buy that ice cream was his own likability to that particular flavor of ice cream. He likes that butterscotch flavor, so that is why he also wanted to eat it. Along with his children's request, he went out and bought that thing. So the common theme, as said by some of you, is the amount of influence these things had on him, and because of which he probably took some decisions in his life, some small decisions, some large decisions. So just to give you an example, how on a daily basis, all of us are getting influenced directly or indirectly, and we don't even realize it, right? And I'm going to go into these reasons, and this is the foundation of Robert Cialdini's research on influencing. On a daily basis, we are getting influence, right? And we need to understand these and probably use this whenever we're trying to work in a professional world. I will try to restrict our discussion around the influencing in a professional world. Of course, these are Arjun's personal examples and a professional example, but we will try to funnelize it to the professional environment. So that is what we saw. Arjun got influenced by these things, whether it was about the limited offer available. So it was about something which will not be available. Number two was about someone senior telling him to do something. He respected that. And number three was his liking up towards that flavor, and of course his love for his children. So those are three things which probably influenced him to take a decision, right? So those are things which he did. Now, going forward, let's talk about what is influence, right? Can I have a quick answer from a few of you? I just want to define it, but then let me see if you can give me some answers here. What, according to you, is influence then? Okay, Sandeep is saying, what is the difference between influence, persuade, and impact? Okay, so influence is persuade someone and it has an impact on others. That's what I can say. IG saying getting carried out. Blindly following. Deepak. Okay. Blindly probably is too extreme a statement. Maybe following would be good answer. Impress upon someone. Okay. So if I can just give it to the simplest thing. When you influence someone, what happens to the other person? Winning, change decisions. Okay. Impact decision making. Good answers. Yeah. Making others to follow our ideas willingly. That's a good one. Yes. From home. Okay. Having him to say yes. Pradeep, very good. Exactly. Win-win. Motivating someone to do something you want. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? We have enough examples in history where one man has been responsible to move millions, right? And because of which, in the 1940s, we had two individuals who had a huge influence in the large mass of population, right? One was Adolf Hitler in Germany, and the other was our very own Mahatma Gandhi. Both of them had great influence where millions of people followed them and followed what he wanted them to do. Exactly. So what is influence? Influence is nothing but a capacity to have an effect on the behavior of another person. And simplest way to explain influence is to get a yes from someone. That's the simplest thing to say about influence. Yeah. So if you can get a yes from someone, you have influenced him or her. And if you are able to change the behavior willingly, you have had an influence. Okay. So that is simplistic term is influence. Now, why is ability to influence so important for all of us? It is because it encourages others to see things from your point of view and also helps us to convince others to get their buy. That is why. So whether you are a trainer trying to convince a client to give you business, whether you're trying to tell a training company to probably give you some number of days, or you're trying to convince a corporate client towards your point of view, towards the content you want to run and the reasoning behind that, you are trying to convince that. So it helps us to convince others and get their buy-in to what we are trying to tell them. That is what the importance of influence is, right? So let's now straight away deep dive into the 6 principles of influence, which is the Robert Cialdini's principles, right? Now, Robert Cialdini, as I said, did a lot of research in this area, trying to observe corporate executives, corporate CEOs, right the front line. And based on these observations, he and his team came up with these 6 principles. As I said, they're universally applicable based on human behavior and human psychology. Now, what are these 6 principles? Let's have a look at them. The first principle is the principle of authority, likability, reciprocity, social proof, consistency, and scarcity. I'm sure when you look at these terms, you will be able to immediately recognize the example of Arjun. Okay, the example I gave earlier about Arjun's decision making, and you will realize that possibly some of these influences were used in that particular case. Right? So let me quickly talk about each one of them and give you some examples of their research and some examples which we see around us, right? Which we are seeing in when we are getting influenced. Yeah. So these are the 6 principles of influences. These can be used whether you are a salesperson, whether you are a junior person, senior person, anybody who you want to influence, whether you want to get business, whether you want to impact somebody in the corporate world, you can use some of these, all of these, one of these at the appropriate time, right? So all of these will not work always. Will I get 100% success? No. But will I get a higher chance of success? Absolutely yes, right? So let's understand what these principles are. Why do they work? And I'll share a few examples. And maybe all of you can also give me some examples of you seen this or you have used this principle in your day-to-day work life, right? Okay. So let me go ahead and talk about these principles. Now, before that, I just want to check, Soumya, I hope everybody is able to hear me and see me clearly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Clearly
Okay,
audible
wonderful.
and visible.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, let me just go ahead and talk about the first principle. But before that, I want to tell you a quick story. Okay, this is a story of the ATM guard and the ATM, right? Looks like a nice, hefty looking guard outside an ATM. Now, what happened? So, this is a story of Robert Cialdini, and this is the research they did. And this is the actual thing that they did just to check on this principle. So, what they did was that outside an ATM, now all of us recognize ATM, these are small cubicles which have a glass door and there are 1, 2, or 3 ATM machines inside it, and there's always a security guard sitting inside or outside that ATM. Now, in this particular case, there was an ATM along with the branch of the bank. Now, what they did was to research on this particular theory, they replaced the existing guard with a journalist. Now, this journalist was also looking at the guard, tall, well built, okay, and they made him wear the official uniform of the security agency, right? And so they made him stand outside the ATM, and on the ATM's glass door, they put up a notice signed by the branch manager saying, dear customers, for the next 1 hour, this ATM is under repair. Kindly hand over whatever cash, checks, any other instruments you want to deposit with the guard, and we will take care of it. Sign the branch manager. And they waited and watched to see what does the customer do. Now, in that 1 hour, about 30 odd customers came to the ATM and they wanted to do those transactions. They saw the notice, they saw the guard. He was like well built, tall, with a smile, and he was quiet. So out of 30, about 24 of them actually handed over whatever they wanted to do at the ATM to the guard. Right? That was a very astonishing behavior of the customers. Now, my question to all of you is, why do you think the customer did that? Out of 30, a large majority of them actually handed over their cash, check and all, though it was not the regular guard, it was somebody else they saw, but they still went ahead and did that. Now, the question is, why do you think they did that? Can somebody give me an answer here? Branch managers notice, his personality, behavior, gullibility, okay, maybe that, but reliability, blind belief, instruction by the branch manager notice and a smiling personality, authority, faith with branch managers, notice, absolutely, reliability on the branch manager, absolutely right, exactly. The reason why so many people did that was because the notice put on by the branch manager, signed by him or her, instruction by the branch manager, yes, Daman. And also that person in the uniform standing outside the gate, they had a strong belief, right? That this person is of authority, and there is a signed notice by the branch manager which also depicted authority. So it showed the human behavior where it generates trust. Absolutely right. So the authority always generates trust in that, right? So it created a perception of authority. Even though it was not true, it created a perception in the minds of the people that, you know what, okay, I can do this. It might be a different guard, Doesn't matter. At least there's a signature signed notice by the branch manager, so I can safely give away my cash and my checks. So that is where the human behavior comes, and that is what is called as the principle of authority. Right? That's the first principle of Robert Cialdini, where it creates a perception of subject matter expertise or authority. Now, all of us have great respect for authority, right? Now, authority can be depicted in various ways, right? Now, authority can be like, for example, whenever I go for training, fortunately, unfortunately, this gray hair and this this salt and pepper look is something which it creates a perception. Okay, I'm a seasoned professional. Some of you also have the same personality, where because of what is written in your resume or the number of years of experience, it creates a perception of authority, right? Whether you have it or not, that's a different story altogether. But you should create a perception of subject matter expertise, which people will get influenced by. And that is what you also get influenced by. So it's important to create a perception of subject matter expertise, right? Many of us, so let me ask the question. Majority of the times when our doctor or a family doctor tells us something, do we normally question it? Of course, we may go for a second opinion, but do we normally question them? Whenever our doctor gives us certain insights, no, we don't question them, right? We believe. Why do we believe in the doctor? Because he has certain authority. His white gown which he is wearing carries a perception. Tomorrow, if someone else wears a black gown, we will not probably respect him. A doctor's white gown gives us that confidence, and we respect and accept what he says and goes about by the diagnosis. Similarly, when there's a lawyer or an army person, a lot of people in the armed forces, yeah, a lot of people in the armed forces, yes, Ustad, yes, Arup, that's exactly what we say. It's a creation of, I'm the Ustad of this subject. Yes. So when we see an army officer, an air force officer, navy officer, we all have a kind of a respect for them because of the kind of uniform and the kind of work they are doing. So they are all experts, they are all authority in our mind. So that is what really has a. So when we are trying to, we can use our authority as a influencing technique. So various ways to influence. One is your job title, your designation, your years of experience. If you are a general manager, you're a director. A lot of time this has an impact on the other person, right? And that is what you can use to, because this demonstrates authority. And I am a general manager, which means 15, 20 years of experience. I am a CEO. I come with so many years of experience. That is what can be used to, influence people. So title can be an influencer. Attire, very influencing. I'm sure all of you understand the importance of grooming, importance of wearing the right kind of attire. Now, I know today I'm in a kind of a semi-formal dress, but I decided to wear this jacket because I thought it'd be a good idea to possibly, yes, exactly, Supriyo. Yes, initially, yes, but I'll come to what others will like. So if I have to make that first impact and be influencing, title, attire will go a long way, right? And of course, my body language. If I confidently sit, shake the hand, have a smile, a confident look in my face, my sitting posture, standing posture, all that adds to showing that, yes, I'm holding myself, I have full confidence, I have a subject matter knowledge, I have authority. But as said by a lot of you in the chat, yes, all this is the initial, but what will make it more impactful is my actual subject matter expertise. My actual subject matter expertise will actually take my story forward. So I need to be expert in that, or at least I need to have the perception of expertise. Now, as a human being, I can't have knowledge of everything. But when I'm meeting somebody, I must try to see whether I can, for that particular topic, I'm able to show subject matter expertise. Or I take along someone who I can demonstrate as someone has a subject matter expertise. Okay, there are some chats which are coming here. Let me just quickly check. Grooming plays a vital role as everyone looks up to a person in long run. SMN will only make us sales. Absolutely right, DS. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. Yes, Supriyo. The verbal, vocal, and visual impact. Yes. And of course, the knowledge impact. So when I can demonstrate the knowledge, that is my authority. So when we see a doctor, we are not just looking at how smartly he or she is dressed, but also what is in his mind. So that knowledge. So the first way of influencing somebody is to show subject matter expertise, where you can demonstrate authority and of course show your power. So whenever you're trying to influence in the corporate world, your subject matter expertise along with title, attire, and body language will have the desired impact. That's how you can demonstrate authority, and that's the number one principle of Robert Cialdini's principle of influence. Right? That's authority. Okay. Next one I will go to. Then I can probably take some more question. The second principle is a very interesting way. We call it as the principle of reciprocity. Reciprocity. Yes. Agreed. Experience also. Yes. Experience, knowledge, title, attire, body language. And we could take experience as part of title. No, so all of these combined together shows authority. Absolutely. Okay. The second principle is principle of reciprocity or reciprocation in simple words. Now, reciprocation, what does it mean? Give something to get something in return. Okay? Give something to get something in return. Now, a quick question and a quick fun question to all of you. And actually it has linked to this principle. Many of you are married in this room, and I hope all of you are well married and a happy married life. So a quick question to all of you. I know I'm probably recollecting many years back, but a quick question to all of you is that if you recall your marriage day when you had your 2 or 3 steps of getting married, there's in Bengali there is always a engagement on the same day. Then you have the Jayamala, and you have the fairas, and then you have the reception maybe in a day or two, right? So after all these ceremonies are done, and all your guests, your friends, family, all of them have come and given you some envelopes with their names written in cash, some items which are useful for your house, a lot of gifts are given. And now, what does your mom or your aunt, or what do they do after all the ceremonies are over? What do they do? Any idea? Yeah, I know it's very difficult to remember that day. So can somebody tell me, like,
Yeah,
once
yeah.
the marriage ceremony,
Yes, they
they
count
open
down
the
the
ceremony bag
amount.
gifts, yes, make a
They count
register.
down
Okay,
the
yeah,
amount.
interesting. Yeah, can you please put in the chat box? It'll help me to understand better. So we reciprocate, but what your aunt and mom do? Can you make a list of prepared gifts received by return gifts? Make a register. What do they write in the register? What do they write in the register? Right? They count. Okay. Who has given what amount, what we got from whom, and what is the reason behind making this list of the people and their names, and how much have they given? Any idea? What is the reason? To return accordingly, giving back. Absolutely right. To see what they got as gift is equivalent in the guest occasion. Okay, absolutely right. So this is what is the example of reciprocation or principle of reciprocity. Absolutely. So the reason why your aunt or your mom makes that list is that whenever there is an occasion in that family, we will probably reciprocate with about equal amount of gift or maybe more. So that is what is the simplest way to explain the principle of reciprocity. Give something to get something in return. Absolutely. Right? So this is the second principle of Robert Cialdini's, where I do something for someone and get something in return. Now, important to understand is not intentionally with the intent of getting it immediately back. You do something for someone, you do a favor to someone, and you will get it back probably today, tomorrow, day after, next month, next year, or many years later also. Right? Exactly. That is karma. Yes. So this is like our Hindu belief of karma, that what goes around comes back to you. Whatever you give to the society will come back. Whatever you give to others will come back. Whether you give good, it will come back to you good. Whether you give bad, it will come back to you as bad. So that is the principle of reciprocation. Absolutely right. So boomerang effort, absolutely right. Whatever you give, whatever you throw, it comes back to you as the same way. Right? So that is the basic foundation of this principle. So when you receive something from someone, you feel an obligation to return the favor. Now, this is the human psychology at work. Whenever someone does something for you good, and it is like a favor, whenever someone does something good to you without you realizing it, it creates a kind of a burden in the shoulder of that person. Right? You have got him or her, and they are looking at wanting to return that favor. May not be immediately, but at some point of time. Right? Because it's like a debt in their shoulder, in their mind. Humans are hardwired in a way where when someone does good, we want to return it back, right? And I would say at least 99% of us, I'm not talking about 1 or 2% of people, I'm talking of a vast majority of you and I who would want to return a good deed someone has done to us, right? So that is what the principle of reciprocation says. If someone treats you with kindness, you're likely to treat them back in the same way, right? So that is the principle of reciprocation. So always look at an opportunity that, okay, someone has put something on the chat box. Let me just check. That's why you give more tips to waiter when he brings wins. Okay, yes, maybe yes. So when you put some good tip, you will get a good treatment from them next time when you go to the restaurant. Absolutely right. So these are small things which you and I have done every day, right? When I've done something, but one clear condition apply here is that do not expect it as it has to happen right away. Or you cannot do a favor by telling him or her, you know what, I'm doing this for you, but I want a favor in return. That will never work. Right? It has to be give something like a karma, give something and then wait for something in return, and for surely it will come back to you. Yeah. So that's the principle of reciprocation, which works wonderfully well in the corporate world also. You do a favor for someone, you do a favor for a client, you give something which he or she was not expecting, and you see how he or she can come back to you and give you a larger business. So that is what reciprocation works. You help them out in a difficult time, you do something which makes them shine, they will do the same amount, if not more, to make you shine. That is the principle of reciprocation. Okay, so a quick, anybody would like to, anybody, okay, so we have discussed two, authority and reciprocation. Anybody wants ask any questions here? Has any thoughts here, their own example? Yes, Vansh.
Hi. Yes, hi, I'm Vansh. This is based on Cialdini. I just joined a little late, so this is based on
It is.
Robert Cialdini.
It is.
Psychology of persuasion. So, just reciprocity. I don't think works 100% of the time. It
Absolutely.
works.
Nothing works 100% right. Yes, it doesn't.
For
See, as I said,
example,
these are techniques which will never give you 100% guarantee or assurance. But these are techniques can be used at various points of time, but without any 100% guarantee. It will work sometime, it will not work sometime. But it has been seen to be work majority of the times. It will not work every time, for sure. Yes.
yeah, companies normally give out free sachets and to travel. I remember Jet Airways used to distribute a lot of Titan skin perfume bottles. But I've
Yes.
never
Yes.
bought Titan skin perfume bottles, but I took about 5 or 6 free. So I'm saying normally that is also based on reciprocity. So it works maximum times, but you've got to be prepared for the outliers who don't return the favor.
Yeah. As I said, 98%, 99%, you will have a few percentage people who will not. That's okay. This principle works for majority, not for a small minority. Okay, anybody has any other question that I move on to our next two principles? If not, then I will go ahead. Okay. Okay, Rahul is saying, I think this is the best way is the sixth principle because reciprocity creates social pressure to respond. Okay, maybe, yes. Yeah. So as I say, there is not the best or the worst. These are the six principles. Each one of them are equally important, right? Yeah, this is like a human psychology. You know what? This is, as I said, all these principles are based on human psychology. Yeah, human psychology always behaves consistently. That's why out of many principles, these six have been chosen because they are at the basic level of human psychology and behavior. And human psychology is quite consistent across people, across continents. Okay, yeah. So moving ahead, then let's talk about our next few principles. Okay, so I've already discussed this. Okay, the third principle is of likability, right? Liking. Now, I think this is very simple to understand. If I'm likable to somebody, if I can connect to somebody, if I can build a rapport with somebody, if I can bond with somebody, it creates a huge amount of connection, and I can influence that person, right? So that is what is the third principle, that how can you become likable to somebody, and how can you look at probably saying that, okay, can I find out more about this person, his or her liking, and then use that to probably connect and build a rapport. So this is about building a rapport with someone, but on the basis of likability. So likability can be of various types. Now, in our country, there are various ways of likability. For example, many of my Bengali friends in this group, I can create a likability by talking in Bangla. Ah, dada, kemon acho? Right? Because I am half Bengali, I can connect to the Bengali people and I can talk that language. So in our country, there are various ways of likability, right? Your language could be one way to likable. You are from the same town, it could be likability quotient. It could be from the same college or university, from the same school, you know. So there could be 101 ways to create likability. Both of you like to drive that, you know, Enfield motorcycle. Both of you are, you know, having the same hobbies, right? So in the corporate world, we are able to see what kind of, yes, sports, yes, you know, cricket. Like, I'm a great cricket fan. How many of you cricket fans in this room? Are we missing our cricket? Yes, absolutely. KK, Abhijit, Deepak. Yes, yes, missing cricket. Like how? I'm so waiting if there's a the T20 World Cup happening in Australia or not. So both, all of us who are in cricket, we can go on and on talking about cricket, right? Or people who are interested in football. I'm sure all football fans are very happy today, right? We are very happy today because the German league is starting, even though it is behind closed door. At least we will see some live matches, right? Then the other European leagues are going to start. Missing IPL? Oh, you bet. Yes, absolutely. So we can talk about cricket, and I can talk about cricket for next 6 hours also. So sports, food, region, language, attire, there could be several common factors. Now, when I go to the professional world, there could be again various kinds of golfing. Yes, golf is the biggest. If you look at golf, though a lot of us don't understand that game, it has the biggest influence because a lot of senior CEOs love to play golf. And if you can get golf and talk about that, you can have a winner. You can influence that person, right? So finding a common ground, absolutely right, is what is required is the principle of likability, right? Likable. So I'll just give a quick example here, which will probably tell you what I'm talking about. So get your stakeholder to like you by showing similarity, using praise, and by demonstrating cooperation, right? A quick exercise. May or Manar want to? So it is me, you. You have completed your schooling in a small town, love cooking, avid reader, have 3 siblings. Manoj is someone whom you are trying to influence, someone new who has joined in your office, and you don't know much about it. The only thing you've got to know is loves gardening, likes trying new cuisines, owns a cat, completed his graduation degree from a college in a small town, right? Now, there are common factors here. Now, when you want to build a rapport with Manoj, Manoj could be an internal stakeholder, Manoj could be an external stakeholder, right? Now, how would you go about building a rapport? How can you use the principle likability here? Yeah, how do I use the principle likability? If I have to establish a conversation with Manoj and try to build a rapport, yes, the possibility is that small town. Maybe both of you are from Lucknow or from Bhubaneswar or from Ahmedabad or from Coimbatore. These are the smaller towns of the country. You possibly have done the same from the same college. Yeah, food could be one because both of you love cooking. He likes to try cuisines. So maybe you can talk about something you learned very recently. Yeah, gardening. Right? So there are so many things which you can, if you have a dog and he has a cat as a pet, you can talk about the common factors. This enables us to establish a rapport, establish a connect. So that is very important for us to influence people. Once you have been able to build this rapport, have this connection, then you can have in difficult times, especially when it is an internal corporate world where there's different stakeholders to work together, there are differences of opinion, there's conflict happening. You can use this commonality and break the ice, right? And you can get the work done from each other. So that is what we say is how you can use this principle of likability. When people like each other, they're able to give a long rope, they're able to understand each other and then get work done, right? So that is what we mean by the principle of likability. Absolutely right. Okay, moving ahead. Then, of course, is the principle of social proof. The fourth principle is feeling validated based on what others are doing. Now, if I ask a question again to all of you is, when you decide to see a movie, okay, when you decide to see a new movie is coming up, and you decide to see a movie, I hope we can soon in the in the theaters, but even on Netflix or Hotstar or on Prime Video, or you want to see a particular series. Now, I did not watch Money Heist for a very long time. Right, Money Heist is based on the Spanish robbery story. Right. Now, what do I do? What did I do? I spoke to some people and I asked friends who had seen Money Heist. After hearing the reviews and feedback from my friends, I said, okay, let me give it a try. And I watched Money Heist and I was so happy I did. Right? So yeah, as some people are saying, you based on the reviews, trailers, ask friend who has seen, ask a friend, even critics, yes. So, and you go about then watching that movie. Now, what is this? It is the principle of social proof happening. Right? Whenever a new restaurant opens up and you want to visit that, you probably quickly check in your group, how many of you have visited this restaurant, right? We go by reviews of like-minded people, maybe Rajiv Masand as a critic, yes. So we try to get a proof that, okay, if I'm going to see this movie, I will take a collective proof of others having watched it and they've given me a proof. I have not experienced it, but I will go by others' experience, right? And that is what is the principle of social proof. Yes, exactly as Deepak is saying, ratings for that food joint. I either go online and do see the rating, or I go ask my friends. Now, a lot of us do online shopping, right? Amazon or Flipkart, any other site. What do we, when you finalize the product, what do we do? Yes, e-commerce, exactly. We go to the reviews section, right? I don't know how many of those reviews are actual reviews, but we go by the star rating and the reviews. Absolutely right. So we feel validated based on what others are doing. Right? So we don't have a personal experience, but we go by the experience of others. Now, many of you have children going for tuitions, right? How do you decide on a tuition? Of course, by the teacher, but you also rely on the children in our society. How many of the children are going to the results and how many of them are going to that particular tuition center? So that's how we go. So we go by what is as a social proof available to us. Right? Nothing wrong in that. No, it is important because it saves us the whole process of validating and thinking and doing the due diligence. Right? I will go by what others have already done so, and I will follow. Right? So I feel validated based on what others are doing. Now, so that is what we always see. We follow so in many cases in the lighter tone, there is a lot of herd mentality. And we always want to go beyond what a herd is doing or a group is doing. Yeah, and that is what happens. Now, just to prove this as an example, a lot of time you see these Fair and Lovely ads. What do? It says, thousands of women have used it and have become, and I know it's very, very, I think these days and times, these colors doesn't make a difference, but we have seen this historically happening on advertisement, that thousands and thousands of women have used it and they have become fair. What are they trying to tell the women? See, if they can do it, you should also do it. So that's a example of social proof. Now, this is very interesting. This was again done as a research by Robert Cialdini's team. At the cash counter of a mall or a market, when there's a half full of cash and other one is empty, human behavior puts the money in that empty, the half full donation box. Why? Because we feel, that there is people have put in this money. That means it has of some good cause. Let me also put my money in a good cause. If a donation box is empty, I will not put it, even though it's a very good cause, but I will not put it because nobody else has done it. Right? Haven't we all experienced that? So that's exactly what it means. Yes, Nitin, you want to add something here? Okay. Going by the wind. Yes, advertising plays an important role. Absolutely. Patanjali, yes, that's a very good example of telling how Patanjali used that Ayurvedic and local to create an impression, and we went by that. Okay, so that is what. Patanjali was a combination of probably authority and social proof, where they made us believe that this is absolutely local, Ayurvedic, Indian, and of course a lot of people are doing it. So why aren't you doing it? And we went by that wind. Yes, going by the wind. Absolutely right. So clear. So that is my fourth principle of influencing. Now, before I go to the next principle, let me share a small story with you. Okay, this is the Nike story. Now, all of us, yes, Shanaz, yes, like Amway, yes, we build network marketing is also what others are doing. Why don't you do it? That's the the basic principle of network marketing. Yes. Now coming back to this Nike story. Now Nike has Michael Jordan. All of you know Michael Jordan, right? The famous basketball player. Now Nike and Michael Jordan have been long-term, they were partners. Nike was footwear and attire sponsor for Michael Jordan for his entire career. Now Michael Jordan played. He was like a Sachin Tendulkar of basketball, right? Very, very popular world over. Now, what Michael Jordan, after playing for more than 20 years, decided to retire. And this announcement came about 3 months before his actual retirement. Right? Nike, being its partner, being his sponsors, they decided to come out with a special edition Nike shoes signed by Michael Jordan. Right? Yeah. Air Jordans. Yes, absolutely right. But this Air Jordan was already there, but they came up with another special edition. Now, what happened was that when they announced that, okay, we are going to come up with a very limited edition, it is only going to be some 1,000 pieces available, and this will be available for a few days before he retires, right? And they thought, okay, they will sell about 1,000, maybe there'll be some more. And they were so shocked and surprised to see a huge demand of this shoe. It came from people who were also, yes, Rajesh, they were what we call as today of the FOMO effect, fear of missing out. They rushed to Nike store, stood outside the queue to possess that particular, brand of shoes. Why? Because of, as some of you are already saying, yes, because of scarcity. It wasn't panic buying. Why does panic happen? Because we in our mind as human behavior says that we want to hoard. Today in about 2 months back, month and a half back, we were all panic stricken because of the lockdown. And even though they chose of having this at 12 o'clock, only for 5 minutes, they opened the window for booking. And they created a huge rush onto the site, the site crashed and all that. So that created a huge demand for the Redmi 4. Absolutely right. So that is the principle of what we call as scarcity. Okay, that's the principle of scarcity work. And we all have been impacted by this principle. Right? We all go to the big bazaar, we all go to online, offline stores, and whenever there is a discount limited till 31st March, winter sale, summer sale, monsoon sale, all that is what? Right? All that is influencing because the basic principle of human psychology, we want to hoard what is not available. So the principle of scarcity is when you believe something is in short supply, you want it more. And that's why many companies have been able to influence us when they create these artificial shortages. And that's why they're able to create this. And there have been enough and more examples, all of you have said, that's why. So it is influencing us. It's influencing us. Yes, new front, lockdown, new fund closing, 31st March, before 31st March for taxation purpose, right? It happens for all iPhones launches. Yes, absolutely. And that is why it works. So principle of scarcity, when people perceive something is popular as in short supply, they will seize the opportunity to possess it. This explains the potency of limited time and limited quantity offers when there's little reason for limits of either. So we have seen this, we have used it, and we have succumbed to this also, right? There is stock out, yes, limited time, either sir, 1 हफ्ते के लिए है या 15 days का offer है, right? Please take it, otherwise I will not be able to hold my price. Or limited quantity, so इतना ही available है, it will not be available. I can't guarantee you the supply. So all this creates a pressure on us that I want, even though I wanted to delay my decision, but I will now prepone my decision. So this is a very good way to influence people to come to a decision quickly, prepone the decision rather than postpone it. So this helps in that. When you can create a perception of shortage, whether it is of time or of quantity. That is another very, very big influencing technique. Okay, quick question on this in case if somebody has a question before I go to the last one. Anybody has any questions on the two things which I have spoken? Yes, Punch.
So do you think this qualifies as scarcity? I'm just asking you, normally restaurants would have a lot of reserved signs on their tables, and even though they might be empty, and that creates a perceived feeling of this restaurant is very busy, hence the food is good. So let me not go elsewhere, let me sit here. Because they put reserved signs showing that, oh, we are very busy and there's a very limited number of seats available. Do you think that?
Yeah, that is, whenever there is a perception of that I'm not getting it and others are getting it, so I will stand in the queue and I will want to have it. I have not checked out the food, I have not checked out thing. I will want to have it because it has in my mind created a shortage. That's exactly what some restaurants and some product guys do that. Yes. Yes. Any other question anybody has of the other two principles we spoke about? Otherwise, I'll go to the last one. And I think by now all of you have realized that these are principles which all of us have been using, right? And into certain success. My only thing is now consciously start using them in your work area, in the interaction you have with the corporate world. You can start using them as a conscious effort, and you'll see the results. Okay, so in case there are no other questions, then I will probably go to my last. And the last one, please pay special attention because it's slightly, I would like to ask you to concentrate here. The last principle is of principles of commitment and consistency, right? Commitment or consistency. Are your beliefs consistent with your values? Now, here is another story which I would like to tell you. In the US, you have these freeways, okay? And this experiment was done in the US. Okay, you have these freeways of miles and miles, or kilometers and kilometers. There are roads happening, and you can go at very high speed, right? And of course, because of that, there are a lot of accidents also which happen. But then that's how it is. So one of the towns decided to have a campaign for safe driving. So what they did was they approached. So before you enter a town on the highways, there are some the housing societies on both sides of the highway. Of course, they are a little apart, but they wanted to create a campaign of drive safely. They wanted to put a huge hoarding. The drivers, when they're coming into the town on that freeway, then they can slow down a bit, and through that they can reduce the accidents. So what they approached the housing society, the municipal corporation approached the housing society and said, you know what, we want to put up this huge hoarding which can be seen from far away, and we want approval in your society to put up this hoarding. And this huge, it was a metallic, huge, psychedelic lights, massive hoarding, which they wanted to put. Now the society completely refused. They said, no, we want to promote safe driving, but this monster we can't have in our society. So they went back. Now, one person had a brave, had a brave brainwave. He went to the office again and he said, "What, sir? What I request all of you do is that, okay, I will give you a small legal size paper which has safe driving written on it, and I want at least say the houses which have windows facing the highway, at least those houses, if you can put up these small posters, or at least be visible if they put about 40-50 of them together, right?" So if you can allow us that, so then these houses said, okay, these are small posters, I can put it. Yes, I have always supported it, but this is doable, right? So they allowed them to put up these small posters on their window. And soon enough, after 2-3 months of this campaign, the corporation people again went back and said, sir, now that you have seen that, this has helped, and you have supported us in this cause, now can we build this hoarding? Instead of putting these small posters, some people miss it. Why didn't you now allow us to build that huge hoarding which you wanted? Of course, we'll take care of the lighting. Now, this time, surprisingly, they got the support of the housing society. Right? My question is, why do you think they got the support of the housing society this time? Yeah? Why do you think they got the support of the housing society this time to put that big hoarding of drive safely? Okay, second one, someone is saying trust. Okay. Any other reason? They got some result. Okay. But I want you to think from a human psychology point of view. They proved their commitments. Okay, Rajesh, very well said. Anything else? Anybody? Sense of commitment. Okay. Anjali, they were in for saving life. They were in for saving life earlier also. Responsible. Okay. Anybody else? Again and again approach. Okay. Consistency also. Consistently kept driving. Okay, right. So I think most of you have said it correctly. So what the housing people, what they saw was that they wanted to be, yes, they believed in the safe driving, right? And yes, rightly said, foot in the door. Yes, absolutely right. So earlier on, they got a foot in the door, right? They got a foot in the door where they committed the housing society to put up these small posters. And when they came back to that, they only had to keep reiterating. Now, you had allowed us earlier, you have seen the results, and allow us to now put up this big hoarding. And because they had a strong belief in safe driving, it was consistent with their values, they allowed it. But because they did small thing, now they got committed to the big thing. And that's how this principle works. where you can get people to commit to something small, and then of course you have to prove the results, and then you can come back and ask them for bigger. Now, many of you in sales will understand this. Getting an entry is important. Absolutely right. Right? Many of you who are selling. So when you say, okay, in a client, don't take my entire solution. Okay, give me one demo session or give me a one pilot session. What are you trying to tell them? You know what? Check with me. No, see how well I do. I'm not just saying it. I will demonstrate it to you. And when people agree to you for one demo session, then they will not go back. If you have done a good job, they will want to go ahead with you only. So that is what is the principle of commitment and consistency. People have a very strong a belief system or a value system. If you're able to recognize that value system and put your thoughts and put your proposition, which is in alignment with their value system, you will be able to get their commitment and you will be able to get a yes from them. So two things, there are two parts to this principle. One is, if you get someone to commit to an order request, he's likely to go through with a commitment. This is especially true. So when you pledge a document, publicly declare his or her intention, you can use this, commitment. You can use this consistency. You can get them to back their values. If you can get them to back their values, what they believe in, people will adhere to that. So that is why it's important for you to always look out at what is this person's value system. Can I use? If someone says, I believe in complete transparency and honesty, you can go back and talk about this, and he will or she will not go back on this. When you evoke that transparency and honesty, and he or she will commit to you, because it is in alignment with what they believe or what they hold strong in, right? Right? And so psychologists have long recognized a desire in most of us to seem consistent with their word, beliefs, attitudes, and needs. Right? So one aspect of this, get a entry into the foot in the door and open up the door by saying, I've done a good job with a small thing, now give me the big thing. Right? Second part of this is be able to evoke his or her values. Right? Transparency, honesty, being number one, always working with the best, respecting experience, respecting loyalty. So these are various values which people have. If you can evoke that and get people to that, you will be able to get their commitment, get the yes. So this is the principle of commitment or consistency. If I'm able to get a small commitment, I can get a bigger commitment. If I can evoke their values, their beliefs, and be able to showcase that, you will be able to get a yes from them. Ultimately, the whole goal of influencing is to get a yes from your person concerned or stakeholder. So I believe it's 5:55. So that's where I end the 6 principles. Any questions here before I hand it over to Soumya for question answers? Power and influence, Rahul is saying. Correlation between power and influence. See, power, positively, if you're talking about power and influence are the same. If I can have a power over somebody, all these 6 techniques are power over you. Authority can give you power. Reciprocation can give you power. Your likability can give you power. Your commitment can give you power. So power and influence, power, if it is in a positive sense, are more or less the same thing. So by these techniques, you can get a hold over the other person, get him to say yes to you, get her to say yes to you. That is the influencing. Yes, influencing is motivating and getting work done. So I would say Hitler and Gandhi both had a huge influence. Both had a huge power over their subjects, right? Both actually created a huge amount of influence. But yeah, one person went the negative way, one person went the positive. We're not talking about the end result. We're talking how influence can. But here, what I've discussed today is your corporate influencing, where you probably as an individual trainer, you go about talking about it and you can influence that. Okay. So any questions, anything which you like to ask me? Soumya, are there any questions which I'm missing here so that I can answer them?
No, that was a wonderful session.
Soumya, your voice is very low. Rajat, can you see the Q&A? If I missed any, please let me know.
Okay, so am I audible now?
Slightly better.
Okay. So till now, you have addressed all the questions that had come up on the chat. So now that we have come to the end of the session, I request all the members, if you want to ask a question, you can go on, unmute yourself and ask Mr. Gupta directly. So there you are. You have the connects on your screen.
Okay. Okay, Deepak is saying, give me an example of the sixth principle for a common man to understand. Okay, so as I said, put in the door. If you want somebody to, agree to for example, as a trainer, you want to go ahead and get get a client. Now, client is already working with somebody. So you can say, Mr. Customer, do one thing. I'm not talking about the whole thing. Give me one session. Try me out. Give me a one trial one and see how the quality we have or I have. If you can, and they might give you that one session. That's the foot in the door. There you can give so that one commitment will probably help you to get a larger commitment. That's in simplest terms, a foot in the door, right? A lot of us use that who are in sales and who are in independent professionals. They want to get a trial run. They want a demo. They want a pilot. Those pilot sessions are nothing but the principle of commitment. Yeah. Anybody else has any other questions? So I have shared my email ID. If you want an empanel, so if you want to connect with me, that's my email ID. If you want to empanel with Work Better Training, that's the empanelment email ID. My colleague in I'm sure that's Candice@workbetterindia.com. My email ID is there.
Hi, Gautam.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Gautam. This is DS Virendra Singh.
Yes.
More than a question, it is in this COVID time, it was really refreshing session, and really thanks to Rajat for inviting me, because these days anybody and everybody is coming on webinar, but to be honest, it is becoming very monotonous and at times not adding any value. But this was one of the really very good session, and thoroughly enjoyed, and would take it further and will definitely get in touch with you.
Sure.
I
Thank
hope
you so
you're able
much.
to
I think
resolve.
Dhirendra Rajat here. I think we are influenced. We all are influenced. And Mr. Gautam, the way
Thank
he
you.
exhibited his all 6 skills, we are absolutely influenced by Mr. Gautam, and that's the great thing. What we have to have great people coming on the stage, and we are sure that tomorrow again we have a great session, and it's going to be a repeated session by the program we had. Because a lot of people are being influenced by the program, and tomorrow Mr. Shripad will again coming on Sunday. Though we never had a program on Sunday, but
Right.
this was
So
request
the
from a lot of
idea,
people.
Rajat, was
So tomorrow yeah.
So the
Yeah,
idea
continue.
is, what happens is we are very critic to a lot of things, but
Yes.
when it comes to giving feedback, even as trainers
Hmm.
and even as facilitators, and I've been there for almost 15 years. Many times we miss out the trick of giving feedback. So before this call gets over, I really wanted to give a feedback, and you have been chasing me, but somehow because of some other things, I was not able to. I was a part of a previous call as well, but this call I really enjoyed, and the clarity which was there and the kind of participation from each and every individual. Not only Gautam was leading the call, but from everyone, it was really nice, and I would see that I don't miss the calls.
Thank you, dear. Thank you for your kind words. Just to end the session, Work Better has just recently launched a diploma in facilitation skills. This is for all new trainers, experienced trainers, and anybody who wants to get into the training industry, all retired people. These are details given on the screen for all of you. In case anybody is interested, you can go to the website or you can connect in this email ID and the phone number. You can probably take a picture of this and you can spread the word around.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Nirmala Mandal. Am I audible?
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Gautam. I am associated with Work Better since 2013 and very glad to meet you today. Thanks, Rajat, for inviting me. Though I have taken influencing skills through Work Better and through other vendors and as a freelance trainer, Work Better is a very great organization to get connected with. Even today I received the payment sharply, and today's session is so much influencing with lot of clarity, crisp, and I was wondering how he can complete this in 60 minutes. So the challenge he has taken very well. Thanks, Gautam.
Thank you so Thank you
It's
for your
very
kind words.
excellent and
And
influential.
please continue to be associated with your work better. We always are looking for more trainers. So anybody, all of you want to work with Work Better, you're more than welcome. We have a process for empanelment. I gave you the empanelment email ID. That's the empanelment email ID. You can
A real candy girl, and they're very professional. The employee morale of their organization, I'm telling you, all 36 people, it was great. It's really great the way they
Thank
are working during this lockdown period, and they are keeping in touch with all of us. And I think almost in this 9 to 10 years, the way they upskill the trainers and the very professional way they work.
Thank you so much for those kind words.
Thank you, Nirmala. And really, we forgot the lockdown days for the last 1 hour, the way you influenced us. We never thought we were in lockdown days. So
Thank
thanks
you so much.
for coming and see you tomorrow at 5
Yeah,
o'clock.
thank you all. Thank you so much. And as I said, please go to our website and check out this facilitation skills diploma. It will be of great benefit to all of you and all your other friends. Thank you so much once again, and be safe.